Alright everybody, what's going on? Tempest here, and welcome to the first episode of Tales from the Emissaries, our Opus 16 weekly vlog videos, right? Now, if you guys are new to the channel and new to the series, I talk to you guys about all the decks, not all the decks, but the decks I played mostly, usually for the tournaments that I play on throughout the week. I'm actually playing a lot more now, so we have Monday, I'm trying to squeeze into the RBAs, and on Sunday we have no war games, and I stream on Thursdays. So I'm playing at least maybe 4 times a week at maximum, and it's, we got a lot to talk about, right? There's a lot of unpacking to do. This episode is I'm bringing you 2 decks first. There will probably be a second episode probably at the end of the week, because we have a lot to unpack, right? I've been playing a lot, like I said. So this first episode is going to revolve around what I've been testing for the re-raise, right? And why I took it and why I was practicing it. And that's it. I'll just go over my matchups and stuff with that. So, so the first thing we want to talk about is what I actually played, right? This is Earth-Water Crystal Control. Now, it tested really well, in my opinion, right? So we still have the Sophie, the triple Gals, 1 Aerith, triple Lena, triple Sarah Mobius. Some of the odd ones were the Wool, the Kadaj, and Leviathan, but we have Kefka, Roble, Titan, and those are the forwards, right? Now, the main thing here was everything needed to generate crystals, right? As many things needed to generate crystals as possible, and then I needed to be able to use them for some reason, right? So we have the Gauss to create them, the Sarah to create them, and the Kefka to create them. We have the 2 of these, and that's pretty much it, right? And then what would use them was Lena, Sarah, and Roble, and the Kefka. So I wanted to make sure all of these effects had enough crystals throughout the game, so I could, I'll use Lena to reborn Aerith, Gal, Sophie, or Sarah. I'll use Kefka for board clear. I would use Roble for spot removal and stuff like that. Titan and Leviathan were just in case buttons, right? Like, whatever. The only summons are Miss Dragon, Atomos, and Cactuar, and Remora. The Cactuar and Remora were late additions, mostly because I felt like it still wasn't enough removal. I didn't have a weird way to, I didn't know what to anticipate, right? So the meta itself was brand new. We could only practice so much, between playing Octagon with the boys and then playing RBA on Wednesday. I had no idea what to expect, right? So I went into it with no real concept, right? I didn't know what to expect. We don't know the meta, right? And we still don't actually know the meta. What happened on the Witcher Kid on Sunday was I don't even think that's a good indication, right? We had some Soiree Samurais, a loop deck, Pirates still, and monks, and 2 water earth decks, and knights. So yeah, it's still up in there, right? Still up in the air. Re-raise is going to be a big thing. We're still pretty much going in with very close to 0 info. A month isn't that much time, so I tried to cover as many bases as I could. I still think Sophie is a fantastic card, and so I wanted to play around that as well, as always. The summons are pretty straightforward. We have the Sarahs to color fix, the Oracle, Summoners, Miner, Tyro, and Shantoto, right? The biggest thing I wanted to take advantage of was Roble, right? And so originally this deck had the 3 cost of Elia, and I wanted to be able to have her reborn everything as we went through the game, but it was too slow still, because if Roble's out and you cast Avelia to save someone, they come back, Roble comes back or whatever. If he manages to live again, then sure, then he has, next turn you grab Avelia again, and then Avelia is live, right? Yeah, sorry, my dog. But yeah, so instead we opted out for smaller choices, which was Miner, Gladiator, and obviously these, the Summoner and the Crystal Generators, right? So the biggest thing, which I was actually really happy I got to do at least once, was round 2 against Soirees that I was at 5 damage, and I was able to play Gladiator, break it, give everyone 10k and Brave. Next turn, Roble would recur it, and I would play it again, right? So at the time, I was able to use Lena to bring out Sarah and I believe it was Sophie. Oh no, I had Sophie out. It was bring Glenn out to bring out Sarah to bring out Gao. And then I already had Sophie and Robo on board. So that's 5 forwards already. She was at 12k, and then I just pumped everyone by 10k, and then like swung in, right? I didn't have to worry about almost any EX bursts at the time, right? Like I knew he had some in his deck, but there wasn't any straight breaks. They were like deal 9k or Titan or Yojimbos or something like that, I think. At least that's what I've been seeing anyway, or I can recall. But even if he had hit in the fire backup, Bell, whatever his name is, at the time he only had like maybe 6 soirees, so it still wouldn't have been enough to kill everybody, right? 6 times 3, yeah, we were way bigger than that. We were like in the 20s or like 18s, 19s, right? So yeah, it was good. I was able to Kefka to that game, a few games, just to kind of great divide like everybody. The other main thing about this deck was the Sarah engine, right? So if you don't know, whenever you gain a crystal, you reveal the top card of your deck, and it's a backup you add it to your hand. So pretty much the turns you get her out early, you start playing Gao or any of these, and then she kind of filters, right? Like you're like, all right, Leviathan's next. Nah, I don't need that till later. Let's put it at the bottom. Oh, we got a backup. Great, draw it. Play another crystal. Great, draw it. Whatever. I would say she drew me about a couple extra cards this game, each game, like maybe 1 card each game, but sometimes there were more. In testing, she's great. Unfortunately, when you're playing this Sarah Mobius, you have to cut out the dual color one, the water earth one that we love actually very much, and I kind of missed. But this was on an engine on its own. Realistically, this deck could be. We could cut the whole crystal thing, go back to the Avelia thing, and make it faster, I think. But we still need ways to generate for Lena, right? Because this Lena is cheaper overall, and she gets 2 forwards instead of the 5 cost one. So it's kind of a trade-off, right? So we needed to make sure this was live. Also, when you're revealing stuff here, it's very oftentimes that we would see like EX burst or something. Like not often, but we left it open to if I needed to, if I saw a Remora on top or whatever, we could kill. So we packed in the Cactuars for single spot removal and to generate like double kills. I think this whole engine on its own is going to be very good. I'm going to take Sarah Mobius into Ice, actually, with the Setzer that plays pretty much any character off the top of your deck. That's the next deck. That's the next deck you guys will probably see next week on episode 3, I think, because episode 2 is just going to be talking about everything else we practiced. But yeah, so we went 2-2, lost to the Loop deck, lost to Sam's in round 3, beat Soirees round 2, and beat Sam's in round 4. The Miami crew did great. Most of us went 2-2. Soirees went top 4, and then Sergio Pirates to win the whole thing. So it was overall a good weekend. The second deck we had listed, now I don't know why FFTCG has it organized this way, but it's here. So this was like Fire Ice Knights, kind of like an aggro list. It's very straightforward. Last Will comes out early, dulls and freeze something. Agrius generates your crystals. Ramses, your take the damage away from you. Soul is kind of like your baby. It's like your baby Stern, right? Gets to pump everybody by 2k for a crystal. Charlotte is another knight. Twintania is my answer to like early aggro and stuff. It's just it's a reverse anti-aggro. I really like this card, but we'll talk about it in a sec too. Double Morrow, Saltheus, Onion Knight, Squall, Shantoto, and Orphan. I actually think at the end I switched these numbers. I think instead of 1 Saltheus there was 5 cost Shiva. And then the summon package, and then the backups, just me, Chu, the crystals, 1 Duke, 2 Devout, and 1 Lil T. Now, again, this deck is pretty straightforward. There's not much to it. It's kind of just, use the knights to play different knights after Last Will to kind of generally dull and freeze key parts of your opponent's like strategy or whatever, like any element that you think dominates or a forward that's in your way from getting, to go from advancing. When things die, Salteus comes out and brings something else out. Oftentimes you're playing on 2 cards, so you end with 1 card in hand and you're playing with 2 from the top. Stuff like Onion Knight and Squall are really strong in that scenario where you're able to pitch, recover 2, and then or just drop Squall and have him swing out. I'm not gonna lie, in testing this was very, very good. There was several times where we got all of his effects, right? Like being able to attack twice, putting your opponent in really desperate situations is really unfortunate at all. Like this is actually what I played on Monday at the Taco Gun. I believe you guys should be able to see that matchup on Tacos' page. And Shantoto here is just a phenomenal card. You know, if your opponent has less cards, this is cheaper, gets a character back, and then can dole your your opponent's forward for 2 CP and a crystal. Again, very easy. Agrius generates crystals for us the whole game. We have the backups. There's just a lot to unpack from this card, and it really does shut out games. It's pretty good. Again, the Orphan and the Shiva, the 5-cost Shiva was in here. The Orphan was just actually, I think we added a Biblos towards the end too. Yeah, I think we ended up taking out the Meath for a Biblos. So you know what, guys, just for the sake of it, let's go ahead and add those while we talk about them. Both of those cards ended up helping out a lot when, you know, Laswell's triggering the discards towards the end of the turns. At the end of your turn, like if your opponent discards, then you don't free something, right, with Biblos. And so it was just such a strong like combination, along with Orphan as well, right? Like these cards, they synergize so easily together, right? It's not even. All right, so yeah, so that's the list, right? This is the Fire, Ice, Aggro, Knights control kind of thing. Not even control, it's just aggro. I'm not gonna lie. Morrow did plenty of work. Shantoto, Onion Knight, they're all, and Squall. Squall is such a fantastic card. Like, I don't know. I kind of wanted to bump this up to 3. I definitely think we could do a lot better with this card. This card steals games. The main things I guess we haven't talked about, right, is the Agrius and the Brynhilders and some of the summon choices. Now, I kind of feel like the Brynhilder underperformed in this set. The mindset here was that we were anticipating Knights, several Knights, and Zidane decks, right? Like everyone's just playing Zidane to steal cards and, you know, rip nuts. But I guess that might have been a little unexpected for such a small locals, right? Like we expected like Jacksonville to come, and well, more from Jacksonville to come, and we had one person from Georgia, I believe it was. It was crazy, but yeah. So the Twintania, right? If you're able to pull it off early, like, is a 2-cost forward / monster, right? And at the start of your main phase 1, during each of your turns, deal 7k to one of your opponent's forwards, right? You should have a counter unless you weren't able to attack last turn or whatever. It's pretty simple. Now, does it fit in this deck? Not necessarily, right? So it had its purpose, it had its role to both stop Zidanes and like stop the counter aggro, right? It just pretty much says no to your opponent from playing a big forward, right? I'm sorry, from playing smaller forwards. And anything bigger than like a 2-drop or a 3-drop, your opponent has to pay extra, 4 plus CP to drop one of these forwards that can outlive a Twintania, right? Now, again, I had anticipated like mirrors or whatever at the time, and a lot of cheap stuff, right? Even the twins, right? If they drop the twins on or something like that, it gets rid of 1 at least, right? And if I survive, it gets rid of the second one if he doesn't play another one. But anyway, the problem with Twintania is that it's mandatory, and I found this to be the biggest issue that we would run into. Even in a mirror or something like that, anything that's playing Agrius, unless she's at 5k, we don't kill her, right? And I'm always discarding, which is bad, but we don't have other ways to close out, right? And so the Brynhilder was here for those kind of reasons, as well as to also mitigate anything 5 or less, Zidane region mostly, and Laswell's and anything like that. And so I feel like the Brynhilders were very like underperforming in this deck, and I would definitely change them into like the A-cost Bahamut EX Burst or something more helpful. Really, like, whereas we do like to kill and draw a card, there isn't. Sometimes it just doesn't do it, right? And I don't have other ways to close things out, right? There's nothing here. The only thing is maybe the Squall if I get to swing out, which sure I did once, but it was less likely than, you know, doing Shantoto's special like action ability, right? Like discard to dull everybody, or even like partying and gaining crystals and pumping or whatever. So yeah, that's all it was. Now these cards are both good respectively, and they'll go in different decks, right? Like, you know, anything that has ways to close it. Like I don't have Terras to recur these, right? To make this 7k. I don't have you know, Bahamuts or whatever kind of summons that deal more damage and stuff like that. And so for those reasons, they're probably going to go out and be swapped out for something, but that's the main thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's it, man. I think that wraps up like the 2 lists that I went over that I was practicing for the Sunday Winter kit reunion event or whatever. Ultimately, like I said, we stayed with the Water Earth, and yeah, probably could have done better, but I'm not gonna lie, man. We're rusty, right? Like competitive play, traveling, the whole thing, it's different again. And for those who don't do it, it's like, or if you don't have a scene anymore because of everything that's happened, it's gonna be, you know, a slow pickup. So I would advise getting as much practice on that as you could, you know, going out to play and stuff, and maybe increasing the intensity of your playstyle, right? Because we've been pretty laid back for a while. And I think that's it, man. Like, I'm gonna leave both of these decks in the description. The deck list will be there for you guys to peek them. I probably won't update them here anymore, so you guys can, you know, they'll live there. Yeah, there's going to be another episode later this week that's pretty much just going to cover everything that led up into this, but I wanted to get these out of the way because this is what I think these are actually playable decks already, right? Not everything else was, you know, performing well and tested and everything. Biggest takeaways is that Soirees is no joke. You know, that came out of the set ready to go pretty much. And what else? Yeah, there's going to be... I feel like this set is generally going to update a lot of things, right? And some crazy stuff's going to come from it, but I wasn't expecting 2 whole archetypes, right? Like the Kijin, the Shijins and the Soirees to be as good as they are, but yeah, they'll probably surprise us all. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me. I'll end this episode here. Yeah, I'll catch you on the next one, all right? So thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I'll see you later.